16:7 says this, "But very truly I tell you, it is for your good that I'm going away. Unless I go away, the advocate will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you." Verse 8, "When he comes, he will prove the world to be wrong about sin and righteousness and judgment." Verse 9, "About sin, because people do not believe in me. About righteousness, because I am going to the Father where you can see me no longer. And about judgment, because the prince of this world now stands condemned." That is the gospel. The gospel is the fulfillment of the promise for God to dwell with us. God has been telling the prophets and telling Joshua and telling Moses and telling everyone in the Bible about his promise. He makes a promise with them. And look, we've got to start acting like God is a promise keeper. Type this in the chat. Just say, "That promise came true." In Ezekiel 37:27, "My dwelling place will be with them. I will be their God, and they will be my people. Then the nations will know that I, the Lord, make Israel holy when my sanctuary is among them forever." I want to encourage you right here to say this, that God hasn't forgotten about you. God is right there with you. It is the promise of his Spirit that he would be with you forever, that he would be with you and love you forever. That is the promise of the Spirit. That is the promise of the dwelling. That is the promise that God made. That is the new covenant. This is what the gospel is. The gospel says that as Jesus breathed his last breath, as Jesus gave up his Spirit, he was giving up his Spirit for you and me. So therefore, you could face these difficult challenges. That way you could face this issue right here that you're up against that keeps trying to tell you that you are no good. That the enemy is trying to come against your mind to make you feel weak. But you are not weak because you have the Spirit living in you. And if God's Spirit is living in you, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. I just love the gospel so much. I don't know about you, it gets me so excited to know that even in my darkest days, even when I was so suicidal, even when I was such an alcoholic, even when I was such a drug addict, addicted to porn, and the list goes on and on and on, even in those days, God was still looking out for me. God was still watching over me. God was still making sure that I woke up the next day. God was still making sure that I had breath in my lungs. So if he doesn't do another thing except give us breath in our lungs, he has done enough. He as he breathed the existence of all things into mankind, as he breathed his breath of life into you and into me, he was showing the biggest miracle we could ever encounter ever. As Jesus came to this earth as a man and was put up on the cross and nailed to this cross, and as he died that gruesome death. I mean, let's think about this sacrifice that Jesus did for us for a second. It is one of the most beautiful representations of God's heart. Now, some people might be saying, "Well, man, that's demented." No, it's not. It's actually beautiful because God knew what it was going to take to get to me and you, to get us as Gentiles grafted into his family. So just right now, just begin praising God. Even that situation that you may think that is gonna beat you down, that is not gonna turn out the way you want it. That's when God shows up in the greatest moment. It's like right at the last inning, God shows up. He's like, "See, I told you I got you. See, I told you I love you. See, I told you you don't have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to stress about. You have nothing to get all in a tizzy about. You have nothing to fear." God wants me to tell you right here, right now, he's right there with you. He never left you, okay? He never left you. He was never going to forsake you. He never was going to turn his back on you. Sometimes we just get so preoccupied in our minds about what we want, how we want it, all the things that when things don't happen the way we want it, the next thing we know, we're mad at God. But what if he knows so much about your situation that every single inner working is no coincidence? What if that person leaving your life, what if that rejection is actually God's way of setting you up for protection? Oh, that's a bar right there. That rejection is not a punishment, it's actually protection. Because the God of the universe is so in love with you that he knows that he's got to protect you from whatever that person had in their heart. Because he sees your heart. He sees your mind. He sees that you are for him. And 30 says this, and even the very hairs on your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than sparrows. Right here at the end of this video, type in the chat, just say, God never left. Listen, if you could, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and smash that like button. And listen, just know, I love you, and so does God. Until next time.